Welcome back to the Beautifully Intentional podcast. So I have a very special guest. I think I say very special every time, but this one is really special. So, so long story short, I follow this girl on Instagram and she had recommended this to follow this guy. She's literally laughing as she's telling the story. She can't catch her breath. And she's like, you guys if you don't follow Late Notes, Seth King, you have to go follow him. He just started doing middle school carpool and he dresses up and it's just the funniest thing. So I checked him out and sure enough, I just went back and I watched all of his story highlights with all these different characters and it's so funny.
Oh, dearie, why don't you go inside and take care of your little ones and that sick husband of yours?
Oh, he is very sick.
And I will drive these kids to school. It's me, Terry Sloppins. Oh. Tell Terry Sloppins how much you love your parents since they're not here.
I hate them.
I love my parents.
I do too.
There's
just a ladle full of honey gives us energy for the rest of the day. Don't touch me. I'm trying to get Addie. I'm not trying to get you, you angry little monkey.
Well, you got me, so stop.
Oh. So we're going to school today?
Just drive. I don't understand why I have to do this. Just drive.
I am driving. I'm driving very safely.
So I was just kind of going back on his Instagram, like a crazy stalker person, I guess is what they are. But I'm not stalking, you know what I mean? So he also writes late notes. And so he'll get into and talk about those late notes. But there's this one specific, and we mention it in the episode. So I just wanted to read it so that you have context for when it comes up in our conversation. And this note right here is what made me reach out to him and ask him to be a guest on the podcast. So he posted it during Mental Health Awareness Month or week or day or something like that. But it says, thank you, ... Dear my anxiety, thank you for always being there for me. My friends come and go, but not you. You're always there. You seem to go the extra mile. Remember that one time that you crippled me in front of a group of fellow third graders and brought me to tears because I couldn't decide which school lunch option to choose? That was awesome. I'll never forget it. Or the times that you make it almost impossible to leave the house because I worry myself sick, wondering what the world thinks of me and about every single thing that I do. So rad. Thank you for the constant cold feet, the sleeplessness, and the not so subtle jabs from your buddies, Panic and Fear. I have a feeling we're going to be friends forever. Hugs. Love, Seth. Okay, sorry. I suck at reading. But you get the point. And when I read that, there was just something that just it made me smile in the midst of also feeling pain. You know what I mean? I have a hard time with even just knowing what advice to even offer to somebody who is suffering from anxiety and depression. I know it firsthand. I know what it does to a person firsthand, because if you've listened to any of my episodes, then you know that I have a mom who severely struggles from anxiety and depression and all kinds of other mental health things. And I watched it literally deteriorate her. I watched it change her. I watched it ruin her life. So I firsthand get what it does to people. And I know that there's so much that within mental health that we cannot control, but there is this glimmer of hope that I have heard over and over from people who suffer about the choosing joy. And there was something about this note that he wrote to his anxiety that was very much very serious, but simultaneously also filled with hope and just joy, and just choosing that in the midst of it, he was going to choose joy and he was going to choose to find light in a dark place. All that to say, I reached out to him and asked if he would be a guest, and he was more than honored and just so kind, so incredible. So listen in as we just kind of talk about parenthood and anxiety and choosing joy and rough teenagers, and it's just fun. It's a fun episode and I hope you enjoy it. But first, a quick ad. Can we just talk about makeup for a second? We have enough information at our fingertips to know exactly what ingredients are in our makeup. And spoiler alert, they are mostly toxic, mostly made with toxic chemicals that are banned in other countries. Nope, not ours. Anything goes in the US. So we have to take matters into our own hands. And that's where companies like Beauty Counter and a handful of others come in, with a list of over 1,500 harmful chemicals that are never used in their products, triple tested for heavy metals, third-party testing for transparency, and not to mention the biggest one for me, and that's that makeup is not only cleaner and safer, it's also effective. And I have really high standards on the performance when it comes to makeup. So to check out a list of their products that are available, their ingredients, and the story behind the company, check out beautycounter.com/Cassandra Lau. That's beautycounter.com/CASSANDRALAU. Now back to our interview. Welcome to the Beautifully Intentional podcast, where I share stories to encourage you to live a more intentional life. Whether it's in your motherhood journey, your friendships, your 9-to-5 job, or pursuing just radical dreams. I believe that sometimes we can just get stuck in the mundane craziness of life, and all it takes is one encouraging word to give us hope to live for something greater. I share stories of living intentional through the simple things like self-care, clean spaces, parenthood, and going after your dreams. My hope is at the end of every episode, there's a fire set deep within your soul that says, I can do this. And that maybe today is your day to find the beauty in the things that go unnoticed and start living a more intentional life. This is Cassandra Lau, and welcome to Beautifully Intentional. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know that you have like a life and you're busy getting dressed up, and so I appreciate you taking time away from doing that to do this, you know?
Yeah, anytime.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Do I need to go get any costumes before it starts?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We were gonna dress up.
We were gonna dress up, and then how awkward would that be if we all of a sudden were Elf on the Shelf, and you're like,
yeah, we can. I can go get mine on.
No, it's good. Okay, so
you just say the word, and I'll go.
Okay, all right.
Change into something more comfortable, and then go from there.
We'll see what happens. Okay, so if there's like random people out there who don't know you, just kind of tell us about yourself, like your story, I don't know, your life, the basics.
So I'm just a normal guy. Grew up in Utah for the most part. Lived a little bit in Germany and in California, and started a family at a pretty early age, and was overwhelmed. Played a little baseball professionally and otherwise in my life, and young father. And I think I've always been kind of an unconventional dad in that respect, because I got my start a little earlier than most.
Like how early? Like how are we talking? Like
I was 21.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. Yeah,
not too bad.
I'm thinking like when I hear early, I'm like 14, 15. What are we talking?
Yeah. No, I should have clarified that. It was but early for. I had plans.
It is early. Yeah, especially nowadays, the culture. I feel like people are starting their families in their 30s. So nowadays, 21 is really young to start your family.
Yeah, and I was, that the birth of my oldest daughter was life-changing in a good way. So it was phenomenal. And I think we've always just kind of been a weird family.
Sure. Yeah, I'm into it. So how many kids do you have?
We have 5.
5.
Yeah. We thought it feels like we're running our own island of children. Like we have our own government and there's a hierarchy and all that stuff. But I'm not the boss. If anything, it's a monarchy, and I am one of the serfs, just kind of trying to do my work. But
who's the boss then?
I'd say there's a strong democracy amongst the kids, but the alpha female is Bella. She's probably the boss. The oldest, it makes sense. And then I just do what I'm told. Right.
That's great. It's cool because I feel like when people hear of a lot of kids like that, it's always like, oh my gosh, that must be insane. Which in the thick of it, while you're raising them, I'm sure that is absolutely insane. We have 3, and already people are like, 3 kids, how do you do it? Which is crazy.
Do people look at you funny when you're walking around the grocery store? Like, what are they thinking?
Because we still put all 3 in one shopping cart, and they're like 5, 8, and 9. So that's probably where we get the looks from. Because we're like, what are those like 13-year-olds doing in a shopping cart.
You have that's a good bundle of ages though. That's a good age group.
It's perfect. I feel right now we're in a sweet spot. We haven't hit the like preteen attitude yet, but everyone's self-sufficient. I'm soaking in every day because I know like things are about to get rough.
Smart.
But it's cool because when you have like 5 like that, while you're in the thick of it, it's crazy. But I always remember this client that I had. I'm a cosmetologist, and one of my very first clients was this like little old lady when I was in beauty school, and it was around the holidays, kind of like this, and I was asking like, oh, what are you doing for the holidays? And she had no plans because she was divorced and she had only had 1 kid, and then her 1 kid decided she didn't want to have kids. So I'll never forget her telling me like, I never imagined not being a grandma, and now like she raised her kid for 20 years of her life. That was such a small window, and then that's it. You know, she's like, I don't have anybody in my life anymore. And I thought that was so devastating. So to have 5, like, how rich are you? You know what I mean? That it's crazy right now, but and like you know, when your kids are having kids and you just get to reap the benefit of all of your labor, it's gonna be awesome.
I love that. I love the idea of like reaping the benefit of all of my labor. It's like putting deposits in a love bank, and hopefully you get more love out of it at the end of it. But we were laughing. Our spread of kids, you guys did it right, but our spread of kids is much different. We have a sophomore in college and a boy in 2nd grade. So
wow, yeah.
We were laughing about the fact that there's a potential that our 2nd grader could be an uncle in middle school.
Yes,
whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. That's totally possible.
Constantly about how poorly we planned our parenting. So whatever.
Right. Our oldest was 3 when we had the 3rd. So we were like, let's just get it all out of the way, live in crazy town for a chunk of time, and then be done.
Did you have at one point were all 3 of them in diapers or no?
No, they could have been technically, but we potty trained the first one pretty early so that we wouldn't have 3 in diapers. But we did have 2 in diapers for a long time, because that middle one, she was in diapers with her older sister and younger brother. You know, so it's like it was crazy. But
that's awesome.
They're in a good spot. So yeah. So what do you do for work?
I do event consulting, and I just recently left a position at Cotopaxi where I was doing their experiential marketing, and I still do it for them, kind of on a consultant basis, and it's going to allow me to have a little bit more free time to acquire other clientele or other contracts as an experiential marketer. So that's what I've done for a while. I helped some friends. We started the color run back in the way.
Oh, you started color run? I did a color run.
Oh, well, it's fun. It's a fun event.
It is fun. Yeah, so I didn't run, but I was there.
One of my friends, it was kind of his idea to have this event, and then a lot of us kind of shoved our creative in there, and it became what it was. And
that's super fun. That's actually the only run I've ever done was a color run.
Oh yeah. What did you like about it?
I liked all the fun, I guess, because I didn't run. I just walked it, right? So, I mean, I think just all the color, just the community, just everybody excited to do something together. And I think, and we did it along the beach. It was in Long Beach. So it was literally along the sand, it was just super fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a great event. I'm glad you said that, you had fun, because that's the intention behind the event, is to take the worry and stress from exercise and just have people get out there and move.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it worked. Great. Good job.
Yeah.
So how did you start Late Notes? Because that's where this all started, right? It was Late Notes. How did that start?
Yeah. So that stage you just mentioned, that you're not apprehensive, but kind of, anticipating and dreading a little bit, the teenage phase. Yeah. My daughter Isabella was in junior high. She had just kind of crested over the teenage mountain and, sailing down into, hard to deal with valley. And she decided that she was going to be late every day for school, and she just didn't care. She did not care. We moved out of the bus boundary, so now it was our responsibility to get them to school on time. And she was being obstinate, just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I would get to school, and she would say, "Dad, I need a note." I would write the typical, "Please excuse Isabella for being late today," and send it in with her. And about the 4th or 5th day in a row, I thought, I'm going to give her something where at least the attendees or the attendance office personnel will look at her and think, what's going on? And so I sent her with some ridiculous note, and I drew a little frog with like a unicorn horn on it. and I sent it in with her, and she hated it. I was like, that's what you're getting today.
Right.
She's like, no, give me a regular note. I was like, nope, that's what you get.
Right.
You can either turn it in and get an excuse, or you can be tardy.
Right.
And she took it in, and but the next day she was on time.
Of course she was.
Like the first day in a week, she was on time, and so I thought, oh, there's something to this. And of course, she fell back into those habits a few times, and I had to right the ship with a number of my kids. As they became teenagers, they just started kind of like, meh.
Right. I'm dealing with that with our 8-year-old, and she's only 8. That started when she was like 5. Just not caring, just running out of the house, backpack unzipped, shoes untied, always making
headstrong. Is she a headstrong individual?
Yeah, she definitely is like the hothead in the family, like very emotional, very yep, that's great. It's perfect.
Yeah, so that is, I essentially, if I had to boil it down and distill it, I shamed my kids into being on time.
I'm into it. Yeah, that's perfect.
And they got on board, and then people had fun with it, and it got some attention. And
so then you started posting those notes on Instagram, and that kind of like became a thing.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed writing. I've always enjoyed writing comedy, and this was an opportunity to kind of do a little creative exercise when my kids were late. And some things were more, extravagant or ornate than others.
Right.
But yeah, it was fun.
That's really cool. I personally really liked the, because I started following you after you started Carpool. So I had to like go back. I'm like, what are these notes? I don't know. But when you on like, I don't know if it was like Mental Health Awareness Day or something, you had posted a note on your note to anxiety. And I absolutely loved every minute of it because I don't know if like you're into the Enneagram. Into the Enneagram?
Yeah.
No. Okay, so I'm like a 9. So I have like this like split, like I can see all personalities or all perspectives. I feel on both sides. Like I'm just like very much in the middle ground. So when it comes to things like mental health, I never want to talk about it because I don't want to be like insensitive or too sensitive or unrelatable or not too related. You know what I mean? Like I always feel like this middle ground. And I feel like that note was perfect because you were able to shed light on a very serious thing, and that was your truth and your reality, and yet you were still able to find joy and have like a light side to it. And I don't know, I loved how it was just the perfect balance.
Oh, that's very, thank you very much. It's a reality, and I think I've had to deal with it and find ways to enjoy the day-to-day with that dark passenger, as it's the Dexter reference anyway. But like, I just have never been able to shed the concern I have about what people think and what I think of myself. And one of my favorite quotes is that I will say frequently, like, sometimes people can write some pretty mean things through social media.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think the question was asked by one of my friends, like, oh, doesn't it make you feel bad when people write things like and they tell you that they hate you or whatever?
Right.
I was like, listen, nobody can hate me as much as I hate myself most of the time.
Yeah.
So the fact that I've come to accept that this is how I'm wired, and try to deal with it in a productive way, and also realize and recognize, kind of like embrace those 15 minutes of anxiousness or depression, and then constructively pull myself out of it because I know that's a part of who I am, and I've had to deal with it. I think it becomes dangerous when people, and it was dangerous. It was dangerous for me when I couldn't recognize what was going on.
Yeah.
But when people don't understand that, it's okay. Everyone deals with these things in different ways, and some people don't deal with the same problems that you do. But if everybody put their hardships on a plate and then looked around at everyone else's plates, you'd probably want your own because you know what you're dealing with.
That's
but
so good.
That's how I appreciate that, because it's something that it never goes away, and that's never going to go away.
Right.
But I'm trying to constructively work and deal with it.
So how long, so you feel like you do suffer from like anxiety or like depression? That's something that has been like a struggle for you or a battle?
Sure. I mean, I think it's been comforting knowing that a lot of people who find joy and comedy in life, in a lot of things,
they also
deal with like this dark side where
I've seen that
like,
too.
Where'd the comedy go?
Yeah.
I was really enjoying yesterday, and today is I'm in the pit of despair, and I have no idea why.
Right. It's like the Robin Williams phenomenon,
Yeah. It makes me feel better that other people deal with that, and that, brilliant comedians who have come and gone recognize that, that's how they are. And it's, I also, there's such a sympathy that knowing that if this is how I feel, like the highs and lows of life, this is how everyone feels.
Right.
And you just have to be sensitive to everyone's situation. And so, keyboard warrioring, being a keyboard warrior and saying something intensely mean or whatever online that's not helping anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to create a bubble in my world where I'm trying to exude as much positivity as possible.
Yeah.
Whether it's taking my kids to school, writing a dumb note, or opening a package in the mail. I just want to embrace those moments with positivity, because the ebbs and flows of life, it's not always going to be that cherished, positive moment. There are going to be moments that are dark, and I want to lean on those positive things as much as possible.
Yeah. And the reality is that there is a group of people that I'm sure attached to that, and that does help them. And there's people who can't relate to that, and they'll find their relatableness or whatever in something else. They'll find somebody else to follow, or and so I think that's cool that you opened up about that. Is there anything specific that you feel like you do constructively to help with anxiety, or is it just through comedy and choosing joy? What do you do? Because I feel like I have a lot of listeners and a lot of followers who struggle with it as well. And some people, they're still trying to find their path, and they're still trying to find what is it that's going to bring relief to them throughout the day,
Yeah. Well, there's a guy I admire a lot. He has ALS. His name's Chris Clark. He has ALS, and he's a very infectiously positive person. He's now confined to a wheelchair and can only speak through a computer. He's become a friend through some mutual acquaintances, and I've also through social media. And I can't wait to have him on a carpool. But his mantra is, after this, I'll send you a link to one of his little blurbs, or a little video segment featuring him. But one of his blurbs, as he's dealt with this, just life-changing situation, and his family's lives have changed as well, his wife. And as he's dealt with it, he gives himself 15 minutes. He kind of set a timer to it. And I think that's been very helpful, is you can give yourself a time to wallow in pity or to be sad. But once those 15 minutes are over, you got to find a way to pick yourself up and constructively go about your day and do something. And I say constructive a lot, because I think there is an intentional construction to your happiness. Right. So you shut that door to the sadness after whatever time you kind of allocated or allotted yourself, and then you constructively move on to some positivity and create that positivity. If there is none, you create it.
Right.
Whether it's drawing, writing something, making a silly video, making a piece of music. People are amazing. Human beings are amazing, and I'm constantly amazed. You could never find the end of YouTube, but if you go through YouTube, you can find so many impressively talented people that have so much to offer and can give you something. And that wouldn't have happened if they didn't create, if they didn't construct that.
Totally.
Right. So I think that's kind of my, it's intentional. The carpool, I saw the anxiety. I don't want to get emotional, but I saw the anxiety on my daughter's face, and gosh dang it. It killed me, because she's me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at myself in junior high, and I'm thinking, gosh, how can I help this?
Right.
What would I have liked in this situation? Because she's stepping into a terrifying world, a new school, new friends. Yeah. And I was kind of oh, shoot, sorry. I was I'm going to make it silly. Yeah. I'm going to make her smile.
Yeah.
And in the process, and it might have been selfishly for me too. I got to make myself smile, because I see so much of her in me. And it just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah. It was it made her happy. It made my neighbors happy. It made the social media world happy.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to let go of that creation or that happiness that we're creating on a weekly basis, even as dumb as it is sometimes. I know it's appreciated by my daughter now. So.
Right. Yeah. That's so awesome. So then does she I feel like in the beginning she was like had so much more attitude than she does now. When I watch them, I'm like, okay, now I see her smile so much more. I loved that she had so much attitude. That was like my favorite part, was like the mean Sophie. But did she open up to you that she really doesn't hate it, or does she?
Oh, no, she hates it. She'll tell me.
Okay, yeah, great.
Sophie is so full of conviction. If she hates something, she's honest about it.
I love it. Yeah.
She did not, like yesterday. Yesterday was Buddy the Elf, and she walked into the car. She's like, "Dad, this is so stupid. So I'm so sick of this." And I'm like, "Well, it's happening. So get in the car." And you can see it on her face. And like, I wear her down over time, but I have to. Like, a lot of times when we start that 10-minute drive to school.
Yeah.
She is not happy,
right?
And so it takes a few minutes usually to break her down, and sometimes it doesn't happen. Like Terry Sloppins, the first Terry Sloppins, she was like, "Nope, I'm not having it." And
that's when I found you, because Tara Thewison, do you know her personally, or do you know of her? Okay, so I followed her on Instagram, and so she had posted, I think it was after Terry Sloppin, so that's when I came into the picture. She's like, "You guys have to see this." Okay, so pause too really quick, because I don't think we talked about, so can you just explain what the carpool is for those that are listening who haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, sorry. So I quite literally recognized that my daughter was having a lot of anxiety before her 9th grade year at a middle school. Here in Utah, everyone most of the school districts, 9th grade is a freshman, and you're a freshman in high school, but you go to middle school.
Oh, interesting.
Which is separate from the high school. So it's kind of a weird dynamic. Yeah. You're in high school, but you're still at middle school.
Gotcha.
But it was a new school. She was freaking out, and I thought, well, I got to do something. So I had this hat that I had decorated for a friend for the Kentucky Derby that had flowers on it, the top hat. I put it on, and I started making up different words to songs from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka. And I called myself Silly Wonka the whole time. And so just to put a smile on her face, just to ease the tension and the anxiety, because, Mom was trying to take pictures out in front of the door for first day at school, and she was not having it. Yeah. So, And so you didn't plan it on the first day, you didn't plan it. You just ran back in the house, and you're like, "I got to go get a hat." Like, no, it was, one of the sad realities about my existence is that I already had probably 30 wigs and probably 18 or so weird hats. Like, just
where are they from?
Yeah, I just collect costumes. I think if I see something and I'm like, "Oh, that would make a great costume if I'm ever in an Oompa Loompa," for example, I will pick it up.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I have way too many wigs. It's embarrassing.
Like, God knew this moment was going to happen, and he had been preparing you.
Yeah, he's like, well,
you collected all of your stuff. Okay, so you see the anxiety, you go get this hat because this is on time.
Yeah, go get the hat, start making up some songs, take her mind off the fact that we're going to new school, and drive her and her other friends from the neighborhood to school. And that was it. I made up songs, we laughed a little bit, and I sneaky recorded half of that encounter. And then dropped her off. And people were like, "You should do, what you should do? You should do this every day with a different character." And I thought, well, I do have 30 wigs, so I should do that. And it just kind of ballooned, and we started having some real fun with it. Yes,
it's incredible. The real MVP is Alex. I mean, he's
a sweet boy.
He just participates. He just never. I mean, it's so great. I just love it. Every
he's like the ultimate improv actor, because he'll just like yes and everything. He just says yes to everything.
Yeah, even if he doesn't get it, it's like whatever. I'm in it.
Yep.
So then,
I love it.
Yeah.
But Sophie says no to most everything.
Oh yeah.
Stop.
Yes, that's the best. The stop. Okay, so then do you have it planned out for like the rest of the year?
Yeah, we have it planned out. We have some big ones planned out, and then we're always kind of, we have a few kind of malleable things if something in the news ever comes up.
Sure. Or,
I've avoided up to this point a lot of political or any political kind of ties to carpool. I want to keep it really positive. So we have a whole list of things that we're going to do. And as the weather changes, it's winter here. And as the seasons change, we have some plans, fun things that we're going to do.
Right.
We have a couple things toward the end of the year that I'm very excited about, like just trying to get permissions for a helicopter the last day. Like some real cool,
so over the
like
top.
a few vehicles, few famous vehicles that people are like, you can use this for one of your carpools. I'm
oh
like, yes.
my gosh.
So a few of those coming up, which it's fun. It just takes some planning and takes some coordination. And we have a monthly musical that we do. Yeah. So those musicals are usually fun because I can bring in professional, Broadway actors or actresses.
Right.
I have a lot of fun with it. So
then how do you do this with your job? Like, when do you work?
Well, right now, my work was very kind with me when I'd come in, when I'd say, hey, I'm going to be running a little bit late. And then my boss he'd text me. He's like, carpool ? Like, yeah. And so they were very kind. Now as a consultant, I'm working a little bit more from home. Yeah. But for the most part, I make my own schedule a little bit. And I don't know, I have a little more opportunity to create in that way.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I love how even all of your friends, I mean, every morning I'm like rushing out of the house. I drop off our 2 girls while I'm literally in my bathrobe and slippers and my glasses. And I'm like rolling up, dumping them off on this curb, as I go into school. And I'm like, how the heck is he getting up before me with this whole get up? And then all of your friends who like participate, anytime you do the musical ones, I'm like, don't any of these people have jobs? Like,
yeah, no, that's what's the fun part about it is when I ask them, they're like, wait, what? And I say, yeah, go check out, my social media and it'll make more sense. And then they're like, oh yes, let's do this.
Right.
And, so they're on board. It's fun. It's fun to see people say, oh yeah, I'll come at 6:30 in the morning and we can do a dry run before carpool starts at 7:15. And so the funny thing is, it's a one take. I remember my friends with the Les Mis carpool. They were like, "Oh man, we should do that again." I was like, "There's no doing it again. No, You're like, you get one take. Yeah. This is live. It goes live. It's like the Bill O'Reilly thing."
Absolutely, that's incredible. So then, this is kind of just like an odd segue, but because you started the carpool with like wanting to ease that anxiety and all that stuff, do you feel like there's anything else that you've been able to do that's intentional with your teenagers to ease kind of just like what they're going through? I feel like teens right now are going through something that we never went through growing up, and nobody before us is able to like help us, because like my parents didn't have to raise me with a cell phone or with social media or with the anxieties. So it's like there's nobody to even ask for help, We're kind of just us, like our generation's figuring it out as we're going. A lot of my listeners have kids around the same age as me, or they're just starting their families, and you're in a unique boat because you have teenagers right now. Do you feel like there's anything that you do intentional to kind of ease that anxiety and like just the social pressures that they're under?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we've been able to kind of, my wife, so she works as a social media director for a company as well. So she is in the thick of the social media world. Yeah. And I think between the two of us, the big thing that we constantly preach to our children is social media, whatever you want to make it, you can make it. You can make it as positive as you want it. You can make it as negative as you want it. You can become an internet troll and you can say mean things all day long. Or you can create a positive atmosphere where you're complimenting people for the things that they're creating, and you're also taking part and appreciating the art or the music or whatever that the others are able to create. Or you can be negative about it, and so I think. We also kind of preach, like, if you're not having a positive experience, leave that social media platform for whatever amount of time you think is necessary. Like, don't get rid of your profile, but just like take the app off your phone and kind of reset and find out if an absence from that is making you happier or sadder. Because ultimately, I think the intention behind these things is to keep people connected and make them happier, provide a happy outlet. But people who aren't happy, they're going to translate or transmit that information in a not happy way, typically. And I've been there. I've said negative things on the internet. I've said negative things in my home, but the results of those things are always kind of like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Right. Yeah. So, we just preach. And I think, I don't think our view is nuanced at all. I think a lot of young parents and a lot of parents with teenagers who see the positive and negative effects of the social media world, they're trying to figure out how to, maneuver and navigate this ocean at the same time. So this is what's working for us, kind of make it positive. If you want to reap positivity, you have to put positivity out there. Right. And if people don't like the positivity, they will leave. They will unfollow you, or they will leave, and that's okay. Yeah. Maybe they're not ready for it, but if it's not what you're reaping, if you're not sowing happiness and you're not reaping happiness, then you need to find a way to do that if that's what you want. And some people might want negativity from social media, and that's up to them. But I prefer to keep it as positive as possible, knowing what I know about myself personally.
Right. So. That's so good.
I hope it ends up being a good decision.
Yes, I know. We'll find out. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this and just for what you're doing. And I know that for you, it's, a way to like one-on-one connect with your daughter and help her, but you are helping so many. I think that, especially when I started watching it, it's like there's so many parents that I feel like are just kind of stuck in the seriousness of parenting and how hard it is. And I feel like you just shed such a light to anybody who watches your videos that like, just have fun, just show up, be silly, and bring joy. And I appreciate it. I know so many other people who watch it appreciate it. I know your daughter appreciates it, even though she says stop. And
that was a very good impression.
Right? I know. Right? But yeah, so just thank you for all that you do, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you also for putting positivity out in the world.
For sure.
The world needs more people like you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're awesome. And congratulations on clumping your children in a very reasonable time frame.
Yes.
That's smart.
Thanks.
Yeah, I love it.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Wasn't that great? I just think he is so awesome. Man, like the commitment level to making his kids laugh by dressing up and making himself look like a complete fool just to like in an effort to lower the anxiety of his daughter. Like, I just think it is so incredibly beautiful, and it's something that all of us as parents and just humans can take note of, like just the effort that we give to just bring happiness and to spread joy and all of it. So anyway, go give him a follow. It's at Late Notes, and go encourage him, go follow, look at his stories, go onto his highlight reel. He has so many good ones saved. They're awesome. And as always, like and subscribe. Is that what it is? Subscribe. And share the episode, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. All right, till next time.